Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? And today in this video lesson, I'm gonna share with you all about the new part in the old point that we studied last week. It focuses on about local and global cultures, and also some question to ask everyone a little bit before we move in this new point. Sorry, in this new part, but in the old point, So my question is that what is cultural imperialism? If you know the answer, please pause my video and try to answer together. So what is, cultural imperialism? The answer is that it is a form of domination that involves privileging one culture. Usually that of a large, a powerful nation over less powerful ones, or imposing injecting the cultural practices of a dominant culture into other cultures, often culminating in the adoption of the cultural practices of the imperial power. That's called cultural imperialism. And also it has the effect. Yeah, it has the effects of these kinds of culture. The next question that I have to ask you more: what are the effects of cultural imperialism? What are the consequences of this culture? It's according to your own idea. If you have the idea about the question of the effect of cultural imperialism, so you can write the answer. Okay, and talk about my own and also my answer focuses on in this video lessons. It has like erasing local culture. It has the erasing local cultures, replacing replacing cultural differences with a single world culture or something like that. That is called the effect of cultural imperialism. Okay, thank you everyone. Now we take a look to this new part together. Cultural cross fertilization. Cultural cross fertilization. This cross fertilization means the mixing of the ideas, customs, etc. of different places or groups of people to produce a better result. That is called cross fertilizations. Have always occurred, and they do change culture. Yeah, they do it cultures. Sometimes in small ways, and other times in large ways. However, these changes do not necessarily turn left powerful cultures into replicas. Yeah, replicas mean an exact copy of an object, but long of a dominant culture. Legren argues that new hybrid, a plant or animal that has been produced from two different types of plant or animal, especially to get better characteristic, or anything that is a mixture of two very different things. That is called konkat in our Khmer language. Let's read hybrid. Yeah. New hybrid culture are emerging. Yeah, new hybrid culture are emerging because they have different culture together in one place or one culture with a lot of culture to meet together in a particular place or in a foreign culture are emerging, and regional ones emerging that are producing both greater singularity. Singularity, I mean the quality of being strange, singularity and diversity within societies. The ubiquity is, I mean, the fact that something or someone seems to be everywhere. The ubiquity of American food chains, according to the American food in our Cambodia, there are a lot of foods like pizza, like hamburgers. So actually, these types of food are not our Khmer food, right? That is called American food chains. For example, that's not necessarily a race-specific religion question. In fact, the presence of American restaurant can actually incite to encourage someone to do or feel something unpleasant or violent. That is called incite. Resurgent. Resurgent. I mean, a new increase of activity or interest in a particular subject or idea that had been forgotten for some time. That is called resurgent of interest in preserving local cuisines. These local and global food choices may coexist. Coexist means to live or exist together at the same time or in the same place. រួមរស់ជាមួយគ្នា coexist and or contribute to the creation of culinary connected with cooking or kitchens and fusions. Fusions are the occasion when two or more things join or are combined. กับซ่อมกับโยกគ្នា Calorie confusion refer to the food that you can use or how you how the way that you cook food that are neither one nor the other but rather something altogether new. Likewise in the same way, the explosion of Mexican, Indian, Thai, and other foreign restaurants in the U.S. suggests that U.S. eating habits are also open to change and global influence. Most Americans who are over 40 years of age in the U.S. can remember, for example, when the spice isoles. Isole means a long narrow space between the rows of shelves in a large shop. The aisle of the local grocery store contain a dozen or so spices. Today, the average supermarket in the U.S. may have an entire aisle devoted to spices. Devote means to give all of something, especially your time, effort, or love, or yourself, or to something you believe in, or to a person. Well, there are many cultures that take part in some of the facets. Facet means parts of a subject, situation, etc. that has many parts. That is called the PIP facet of today's globalizing world without abandoning their own cultural practices and values. There are also those that attempt to isolate themselves from a global Western culture in order to protect their culture from outside forces that might change or contaminate. Mean to make something less sure or make it poisonous. បំពុលធ្វើឲ្យប្រឡាក់ contaminate it. Lewin, for example, points out that consumerism it means the situation in which too much attention is given to buying and owning things. ការប្រើប្រាស់ consumerism is a dominant cultural force of globalization, and as such, people with money are the ones most likely to participate to varying degrees in global culture. Those without the financial ability to participate in the global consumer culture, as well as those whose religious beliefs prevent such participation, are more likely to see global culture as a threat. Indeed, indeed, the perceive to see something or someone, or to notice something that is obvious សង្កេតមើលឃើញច្បាស់ the perceived threat of global cultures can increase their sense of difference. American political theorist Benjamin Barber also discusses these different responses to global culture, arguing that two dominant forces are clashing on the world stage. He called it first Mark World, which he described as the product of the onrush, searching rush forward, ការរត់ទៅមុខ the onrush of economic and ecological forces that demand integration and uniformity. I mean the quality or fact of being the same, or of not changing or being different in any way លក្ខណៈ and uniformity, and that mesmerize to have someone's attention completely, so that they cannot think of anything else. The world with fast music, fast computer, and fast food, with MTV, Macintosh, and McDonald's pressing nations into one commercially homogeneous, consisting of parts or people that are similar to each other, or are of the same type, like near, homogeneous or global network. One mark world tied together by technology, ecology, communications, and commerce. Barber argues that the forces of uniformity also produce cultural and political forces of resistance. Resistance means the act of fighting against something that is attacking you, or refusing to accept something, ការតស៊ូ which he calls jihad. In contrast to the homogenizing forces of Mark world, jihad is fragmenting to break something into small parts, or to be broken up in this way, ការបែងចែក fragmenting force that pit. Pit it mean pit means its structure, pit something or somebody against something or somebody, to cost one person, groups, or thing to fight against, or be in competition with another. Bunch, or it's called a culture against culture, and reject any kinds of interdependence, the act of depending on each other, and cooperation. Barber sees both jihad and Mark world as anti-democratic forces that undermine to make someone less confident, less powerful, or less likely to succeed, or to make something weaker, often gradually រំលាយចោល ធ្វើឲ្យបាក់ទឹកចិត្ត undermined civil liberties. He advocate to publicly support or suggest an idea, development, or ways of doing something. តស៊ូមតិ he advocate form for a form of government that protect and accommodate local communities while also helping them to become more tolerant, willing to accept beliefs that are different from your own, although you might not agree with or approve of them. People are more tolerant and participatory, involving or characterized by participation. ការចូលរួម yeah. And move on to the next one. Yeah. Clearly, scholars take different positions regarding the effect and forces of cultural globalization. These disagreements are due in part to the fact that cultural flow are complex. Due it means because of, yeah, and as such their results are often uneven to not level, equal, flat, or continuous. មិនស្មើគ្នាមិនស៊ីគ្នា yeah. That's called uneven or and contradictory if two or more fact pieces of device etc are contradictory, they are very different from each other. ផ្ទុយពីគ្នា yeah ផ្ទុយគ្នា contradictory. Yeah, Steg points out in some context, local cultures may largely be replaced by Western cultural products, practices, and values. In other cases, global pressures may lead to resurgence also already, yeah, as attention to and celebration of local cultures. In still others, cultural exchanges result in new forms of cultural hybridity. Cross between two separate races, plants, or cultures. Yeah. All those cultural, political, and economic globalizing forces can be discussed in isolation. They do not operate completely independently from one another. They are connected, though not in a uniform way. Uniform ways in the same, not changing or different in any way. Together they affect and are affected by the actions of individuals, organizations, and government, and these effects are distributed unevenly across the world. Yeah, thank you everybody in this this part in the old point about the local and global cultures, and about the new ones here that you are going to learn about this, about in focus Huntington's class of globalization class of civilization. In 1993, a prominent Harvard scholar Samuel Huntington published an article in Foreign Affairs, a leading scholarly journal, in which he accused that culture would be the cause of future global conflict. In it is my what did he say? Take a look together about this. It is my hypothesis, an idea or explanation for something that is based on known fact, but has not yet been proved. It is my. He said that it is my hypothesis that the fundamental forming the base from which everything else developed. Multan, source of conflict in this new world will not be primarily ideological or primarily economic. The great division among humankind and the dominating source of conflicts will be cultural. Nation states will remain the most powerful actors in world affairs, but the principal conflicts of global politics will occur between nations and groups of different civilizations. The clash of civilizations, will be the battle lines of the future. Yeah, of the future. This is the point of view of the scholar Samuel Huntington. And in 1996, Huntington expanded upon this argument with the publication of his book, The Clash of Civilization and the Remaking of World Order. Huntington's worldview does not allow for productive forms of cultural hybridity, nor the idea that cultural change can facilitate better relation among states. For Huntington, the more different civilizations interact with one another, the more they will clash. His ideas incite, I mean to encourage someone to do or feel something unpleasant or violent. A vigorous, very forceful and energetic clang. Vigorous debate within the academic community as well as among practitioners in the global policy arena that continue to run a decade and a half after publication of his book. In order to understand the debate that was triggered actually in the past, but in the present it trigger to call something bad to start. By Huntington's work, it is necessary to look at his argument more closely. Huntington views civilizations as cultural entities that are defined both by common objective elements such as language, history, religion, custom, institutions, and by the subjective self-identification of people. He proceeds means to suggest something as a basic fact or principle from which further ideas is formed or develops. Yes. He proceeds that there are 7 or 8 civilizations in the world, like Confucian, Japanese, Islamic, Hindu, Slavic, Orthodox, Latin American, Western, and perhaps African. Huntington argues that civilization is central to our sense of self, and that these identities are much more important and last longer than ideological or economic attachment because of the strength of our attachment to our respective civilization. Faults, lines, inevitably means in ways that cannot be avoided. Emerge. The more we trade, and interact with other civilizations, the more aware we become of differences between us and them. For Huntington, this Differences lead to conflict. Huntington then builds upon these assumptions by arguing that because the West is at the peak, peak means the highest, strongest, or best points, values, or a level of skill กำหนดขั้วបំផុត yeah, the peak of its military, economic, and political power. It should adopt a West vs the rest approach to world politics. In other words, he maintains that the West should construct foreign policy aimed at nurturing Western relationships and promoting cooperations with other cultures that are similar to it. Western cultural dominance more important, strong, or noticeable than anything else of the same type. Public law should be promoted international institutions that undergird a mass of human relationships that define supports and sometimes entraps an individual control. Undergird that dominance should be supported and institutions that reflect and legitimate Western interests and values should be strengthened. Yeah, strengthened. Huntington is not without his critics. Some have responded by, you know, yeah, sorry. Positioning, positing, posit means to success something as a basic fact or principle from which further idea is formed or developed. សន្មតទុកជាមុនអះអាងទុកជាមុន yeah. Positing. By positing a series of questions, identities ancient and unchanging. Yeah, our identity ancient and unchanging. Do these identities motivate people to persecute to treat someone unfairly or cruelly over a long period of time because of their race, religion, or political beliefs, or to annoy someone by refusing to leave them alone. Yeah. Mean that food took yeah. Persecute and kill those of other civilization. There's ethic diversity itself, and inevitably lead to violence. If Huntington is correct, then how do we explain Algeria, Afghanistan, both predominantly Muslim, and Northern Ireland, predominantly Christian, to name a few countries where civil wars erupted between peoples of the same religions. Why hasn't the US, with its multiplicity, I mean a large number or wide range of something, civilization between torn parts? Are all cultures pure? Or can we talk about subculture within cultures? How do we explain mixed marriages and the resulting hybridizations of their offspring? Offspring means the young of an animal. If we live in an independent world, what is the advantage of how we conflict over concepts such as civilization? For example, nearly 90% of Saudi Arabia's export earnings come from oil, the bulk of which is sold to Japan. Were it to engage in conflict with Japan or its allies, the entire Saudi economy would be ruined. Likewise, in the same way, yes, the U.S. is becoming increasingly uh, dependent upon China for trade as well as for financial assistance. In 2008, 25% of the United States debt, $8.5 trillion, was owned by foreign government. Japan tops the list, owning $644 billion of the US debt, and China owned $350 billion. In short, uh, yeah, a, a Turkey, yeah, a Turkey, I mean a country, state, or society which is economically, you know, independent ប្រទេសឬក៏រដ្ឋឬសង្គមដែលមានសេដ្ឋកិច្ចឯករាជ្យ is called autarky, yeah, autarky. Or complete economic independence is not possible in a world where global economic patterns are driving, you know, a country to interact with increased frequency. So while we may be attached to our culture or civilization, such attachment tend not to override, you know, yes, override I mean of a person who has the necessary authority, yes, to decide against or refuse to accept a previous decision or an order a person, etc. But instead they recall, yeah, override other concerns, yeah. Finally, Huntington's critics argue that he seemed to be assuming that the more that countries trade and interact, the more likely they are to go to war. This idea conflicts with liberal peace theory research, which concludes that the more that nations trade with each other, the more interdependent become, and the less likely they are to go to war. Yes, that's all, everybody, is about this new one. Uh, uh, the main point that you have to know here is important, like the U.S. and the Japan and China, that they have the debt in the world, the top list, yes, like Japan, the U.S. and China. And also the main word that you have to know, autarky, yeah, autarky, I mean a complete economic independence. It is a short explanation for this word according to this new one. And autarky for my definition, it means a country, state, or society which is economically independent. Yeah, ប្រទេសឬរដ្ឋសង្គមដែលមានសេដ្ឋកិច្ចឯករាជ្យ. Thank you everybody for this video lesson and for watching my video. Goodbye, see you, good luck.